Hello, my name is Matt Lawrence. I'm an assistant professor in the Mechanical Engineering Technology Department, and today I'd like to introduce you to Microsoft Excel. Excel is an application found in the Microsoft Office suite and can be used for everything from accounting to basic spreadsheeting to solving some very complex engineering problems in a logical format. And I'd like to introduce you to Excel today. So let's start by launching Excel from the Start button. You'll see that Microsoft Excel is laid out with columns and rows. The columns are across the top of the spreadsheet, and they have letters that begin at A. And by selecting any letter, you can select the entire column. They also have rows that are arranged vertically. And by selecting any number, all rows have numbers, you can select the entire row. At the top, we have this thing called a ribbon. And you're probably familiar with the ribbon from using Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. They're all beginning to have the same look. But by selecting these different tabs, you can get different ribbon options. We'll spend all of our time today at the Home tab. I thought what we could do together is organize our schedule for the week. And this is pretty easy to do and has a pretty simple layout. So let's organize a couple days of the week, and then what you can do on your own is finish by organizing the rest of the days that we don't get to. So I just arbitrarily picked a cell here, as it's called. This is cell C4. It's in column C, row 4. And I'm going to type Sunday in there. And in the cell next to it, I'm going to type Monday. Next to that, Tuesday. I want to show you that Excel can recognize patterns. So whenever you have a pattern that's days of the week or numerical, if you highlight the first 2 or 3, depending on how complex the pattern is, entries in that pattern, you see that you get this little black box here in the bottom right corner. Put your cursor over that box, and your cursor turns into a black cross. Select that, click and drag, and pull to the right, and you'll see that it populates these cells with the days of the week. So Excel does recognize patterns, and you can expand a pattern like that so you don't have to type in quite so many entries. If a column is not quite wide enough to hold what you'd like to put in the column, it's truncated or cut off. So there's a couple ways to fix that. If you put your cursor between the two columns, you can click and drag to make a column a little bit wider. Alternatively, you can double click and it will auto fit or expand a column or a row to fit whatever's inside. So we've got our days of the week laid out. Let's lay out our time from, let's say, 7 o'clock a.m. Until noon. So at 7 o'clock, we'll type in 8 o'clock so Excel can recognize that pattern, and we'll expand this to noon. You can expand beyond that. It uses military time by default. So what you might want to do is switch over, if you'd like to expand this further, to 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And then you can click and drag from there, like we have done. So let's lay out different tasks that we have to do during the day. So maybe for Monday, between 7 and 8 o'clock, we have to get to school. So let's put travel to school. Remember, you can make that a little bit wider. And let's say from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock when you start school, you're in the same class, biology. If you're in it from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, let's leave the 9 o'clock slot blank. And at 10 o'clock, maybe you switch over to math class. And at noon, maybe you have a break for lunch. Okay? So, what we're trying to build here is a schedule. And you can see that the schedule isn't very organized right now. So let's use some formatting tools that allow us to make this look a little bit better so it's a more usable schedule for us. What we might want to start by doing is highlighting the entire chart like this. Okay? And you highlight by clicking and dragging. So we click in cell B4 and we drag down to cell I12 and let go. Now, we can put borders around that highlighted area. This is the Borders pull-down menu from the Home tab. You can see you have a lot of options. Why don't we put a thick box border around our entire schedule, like that. Okay? We can further highlight times of the day. Maybe we want to put a border around that. And maybe the days of the week. Great. So it's already looking a little bit better. What we want to do now is I'm going to show you how to merge and center cells. Okay? Biology, if you remember, is from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. So we want to combine these two cells. Well, the way we combine these cells is by merging them. And right here is the button to merge them. So we have a pull-down menu. You can see that we have a merge and center option. And if I select that, these two cells have now become one with biology in the middle. And you can see that perhaps we want biology to be right in the middle of this merged cell. And we use these buttons up here to do that. You can see we can put biology in the center. We can put it up at the top. We can put it down at the bottom. I think it looks best up at the top or in the middle, so I'm going to leave it in the middle. Math, likewise, we're going to do the same thing for math. We're going to merge and center. And then I'm going to put math in the middle of that merged cell also. So it's starting to look more like a schedule that we can use now. And let's also center lunch. So we can merge and center there. Although we're not really merging any cells, so although merge and center will work, we can also use the center button, which is right here. Okay. Just to complete the day, let's say, what do we do from 1 o'clock? Let's say that we have gym. And at 2 o'clock, perhaps we have a study hall. So again, we want to center these. And actually, I think I want everything in my table to be centered. So if we're going to do that, I'm going to highlight this entire table. I want to center everything. And I'm going to put that thick black border around the outside again. Okay, good. So this is looking better. What else might we want to do to organize this? Well, we can add colors to different cells, which is very easy to do. Let's say we want biology perhaps to have a green fill color, and you have the option here of doing that. And you can also change the color of text for individual cells. You can do this for any number of individual cells or for a bunch of cells. Let's say you want your text to be blue instead of black. You do that with the text option. Okay? So, now that we know a little bit about centering and merging cells, let's talk about inserting cells, inserting rows, and inserting columns. So, if we wanted to put a header at the top, maybe we want to put your name and the course where you worked on this material. Let's just pick a cell here. I'm going to pick cell B1, and I'm going to put my name in there. Okay? And maybe over on this side, I want to put the course where I built this schedule. And perhaps I'll put my room number. Underneath that. And I can also put maybe my instructor underneath my name. Okay? So, as we merge and center these different cells, okay, if we want my name to be across the top 3 cells, we can highlight all 3 cells, merge and center, put my instructor's name underneath, merge and center. We'll do the same thing with Introduction to Excel and the room number. So now we have a little bit of a header. Let's insert a row. If we insert a row, we can add a title for this work that we're doing. And to insert a row, you click on any number to select it, and then right-click. And you'll see that you have the option to insert. Okay. When we insert a row, if we were to highlight 2 rows, click and drag from 1 to 2, right-click, insert. We can insert 2 rows at a time. So you can insert as many rows at a time as you'd like. And maybe up at the top here, we want to put a title for this work that we're doing. A weekly schedule in Excel. Now, because this is the title, we want it to be everywhere, and I'm going to actually merge and center across many, many cells. 2 rows and 8 columns. So I'm going to highlight, say merge and center, and then I'm going to raise it up a little bit using a button that we've already used. And I'm going to increase this font size so it looks a little bit better. Okay? So let's say your Wednesday schedule is a lot like your Monday schedule. Well, what you can do is you can highlight a cell or a number of cells. And in this case, let's say that we travel to school and we have biology at the same time on Wednesday as we do on Monday. We'll highlight those, right-click, copy those cells, and paste them on Wednesday. See that we have to make Wednesday a little bit wider to accommodate travel to school. We can do that just as we did before. Now let's say instead of math class, we have geometry. So I'm going to copy math, paste it here, with a right click, paste, and type in geometry. And then if we have lunch, gym, and study hall, just as we did on Monday and Wednesday, we can right click, copy those cells, and paste them here. So maybe before we're done, let's put boxes around the cells that we've already reserved for our weekly schedule. So I'm going to pick travel to school, and I'm going to put a thin outside border around that. I want an outside border around everything here. So you can highlight many cells. If you want them all separated, we have all borders as an option to pick. And we're going to do the same thing for Wednesday. Select that with all borders. You'll see that the last border you selected takes precedence. So we've wiped out our thick black border here at the bottom. So what I might want to do is once again highlight everything and add an outside border. So you're off to a good start for Excel. You add columns the same way that you add a row, by right-clicking on any number, or letter rather, and insert to insert a column. And the escape button will take you away from any copy that you've done that you don't have to copy anymore, or if you want to undo some work that you've done in the past, an escape button will bring you back to a cell you were working on previously. So what can you do now on your own? You can finish a schedule for Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday using different formatting. And next time what we'll do is we'll work on something a little bit more complicated, doing some basic graphing in Excel and some problem solving. So I hope that was useful for you, and it's something you can use right away.